Welcome to another episode of the Gritty Hour. Sean E. Boy, my usual cohort and co-host, can't make it tonight because he's giving a lecture. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, he's giving a lecture. So we got stand-in co-host for the evening, Sean's cousin, Chris. How are you, Chris? Welcome to the Gritty Hour.
Good. How you doing? Happy to be here.
All right. You were on a previous podcast. You and your wife, you own C&M Housing Solutions, which is a real estate firm down in Pennsylvania. What Morgantown area was it?
In Morgantown, yeah. So where I'm sitting right now is in our office, which is most people probably don't know where Morgantown is unless they say West Virginia. But where we're sitting is in Narvon, which is technically in Lancaster County, and everybody knows Lancaster because the Amish drive around or horse around.
Well, the Amish built your house where you live, right?
They did.
Yeah,
they did.
And it's a solidly built abode.
To watch them is very impressive because it took about 3 hours to put our roof on.
Wow.
You have about 9 Amishmen with no shoes on, barefoot, climbing around on the roof, putting the joists up.
Well, full disclosure, Christopher is my godson and my nephew, and we're all very proud of him here in the family. I see you got a stash and a little thing going on there. You're not getting back into Civil War reenacting, are you?
What are you looking at?
Your stash and beard.
Oh, here?
Yeah, that's where I keep my stash. I'm growing one too, but it's about 6 years.
I've been sporting this for a while.
About 6 years, it'll come in full. Yeah.
The problem is, and I don't know why it's happening, but the sun's really burning my hair out, and it's getting gray.
Yeah, I dye my hair gray every morning, so.
Yeah.
And that's why I smoke too. I want to look older, you know.
I didn't know because we've had a lot of clouds here and rain and snow and stuff like that. So I can't blame it on the sun anymore. So now I blame it on the fact that I have 3 daughters.
Well, that'll put gray hair on your head, I'm sure. But we are anticipating as we record this, I don't know when this is coming out, but as we're recording this, we're anticipating a major storm. I don't know about you guys. In New York, we are anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't say major. I think they said 1 to 3 inches we're supposed to get tonight, but following it, we're supposed to get like a ½ inch of ice, which is worse. I think.
It seems like every storm we've had this year has been ice.
It's horrible.
I'd rather have, well, they're saying up to 16 inches here, so.
Wow.
I don't want to brag, but. So we'll see. That's tomorrow is Friday. It's Thursday as we're recording this, but we'll see. And we got a lot of things going on in the Ukraine as we're talking to. Seems like Russia.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, but see, I don't know. By the time this airs, more information will be available. But you know, I was watching the news shows this morning, and they're all saying, "Oh, the Russians have taken over Odessa, and they're moving in on." It's not Kiev. What's the name of that? Kyiv or whatever, however they pronounce it. But it just so happens there's live cam streams of both places on YouTube. And so I went on there, and you go into Odessa and there's like people walking their dogs. There's a guy eating a sandwich on the corner. I don't know. But by the time this airs, this will all be, you know, but I'm just giving you my impression.
I know it's very odd for sure. I mean, how long have we been watching the news and listening to like radio programs and stuff like that? If they're news related or politically related, they're talking about Russia, Ukraine. I've heard that for 2 months now.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to invade 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. And then I guess last night is when it actually happened, when the news started reporting it. I wasn't actually aware of it until today, as a matter of fact.
Well, it's kind of like the weathermen, you know.
Yeah.
They get all excited. It's almost like they're disappointed that they haven't, you know, they haven't come in on their schedule, you know.
It's true. It's true. So you have you're talking about a war, right? Somebody's going to invade somebody else. They're going to let you know, the person getting the makeup done on radio, not the radio, the person getting the makeup done on the news channel first, they're going to let them know, hey, listen, we're going to do this in about 2 days. Let your people know.
Yeah. Well, I was watching former Vice President Joe Biden speak this afternoon, and he was saying, about the sanctions they're going to put on the oligarchs over there, and Boris Yeltsin, whatever the hell his name is, Vladimir Putin, is that his name?
Putin, yeah.
Wasn't he on the Montreal Expos? Oh, no,
I think so. Yeah. So yeah, I heard that too. And
but he was threatening. I guess he's trying to intimate that he could switch off the grid in this country if he wanted to. Yeah. So
my first question that comes to mind is like, what are you accomplishing by sanctions at this point with that country? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, Russia going into Ukraine doesn't make sense to me either, but
It's not.
I don't know. It's above my pay grade all the way around. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, CNN or whatever channel I was watching this morning, maybe it was Fox, I don't remember, but oh yeah, Russia has taken over Odessa, and then did they tell the people in Odessa, because there's a guy going out to get a hot dog,
Yeah.
So
well, it's eerily familiar to where we stand right now, with the person that's in DC representing us right now. You wouldn't know the difference
no.
if it was anybody else.
Yeah. How are we doing with the COVID down there? It seems to be alleviating here.
Good. Honestly, our area has not. We haven't been bad since the beginning. I mean, it seems like in Pennsylvania specifically, our immediate area hasn't really been anything like you see on the news. Our school was open back in 2020. Our kids went to school the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The case count, death count, stuff like that hasn't really been paid attention to as widely as it has in other areas.
What about mask mandates? Do they have that still?
No, we haven't. Maybe since last summer, maybe. They haven't had any of that.
No. When Omicron came around, they didn't reinstitute those.
No, not at all.
Did it here in New York too. They kind of admitted it was unenforceable when they did put it back on, although I did put a requirement in my store here for masks. I wear a mask for two reasons: to keep the customers feeling comfortable and to hide my three chins. But well, I've been
both reasons would keep your customers comfortable.
Well, I've been saying all along, I've been saying since really the end of the year, Christmas time, when everybody got sick from the Omicron, I've been saying I know more people that got the COVID after they got the 2 vaccines and the booster than I did before, that I did know people before there was a vaccine.
Yeah. So
to keep my sanity, I keep telling myself, well, the vaccines and the boosters, which I have all 3, mitigate, if you were to get COVID, it mitigates the problems from it, because if it doesn't do that, then I might just go crazy.
Well, that's kind of where society wants you to be right now, because if we're all sane and getting along, it seems like that's not where the narrative leads you. They want you to be divisive on anything you're talking about.
They want everybody at each other's throats,
Yeah.
But I don't know if can you call it a vaccine if it doesn't prevent you from getting the thing? I'm just saying, maybe there's another technical word they could use.
No, I mean the flu has a shot. They don't have a vaccine. It's a flu shot. It's a shot.
Your cousin Sean, he's been vaccinated twice and got the booster, and then he got the COVID right around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But I think it mitigated what he would have gotten, or how he would have reacted to it had he not had the shot. That's what I'm running on.
It's a virus like anything else, so it's going to mutate like any other virus. And even though the flu has a shot every year, they try and treat 2 or 3 strains per year, but there's many strains out there, so they're never gonna. This is why people still have the flu. We're not eliminating the flu or vaccinating the flu. We're just having a shot, and hopefully we can limit the amount of people that get sick from the flu based on the strain that they're treating.
Yeah,
This
well,
is the same idea with this.
as I understand the word vaccine, I think they should call it the COVID shot rather than a vaccine, because technically it's not a vaccine. It's
1,000%.
it's not like the polio vaccine where you can no longer can you get polio because you have the vaccine. This doesn't completely block the thing,
Right.
So it's a boost. It's a like a flu shot. You call it the COVID shot. That's a better term in my opinion.
That's what it is. I mean, there's been many strains of the flu, and some of them harbor different names.
Mhm.
And when they learn about a different strain that comes out from the virus, they create a vaccine for it, or not a vaccine, I'm sorry, a shot for it. And that's the shot that they're hoping diminishes the effect of it, not eliminate. So I don't think we haven't eliminated viruses.
No, no. I just think they should call it there's a better term for it. That's. So you were telling me about a year ago, you were telling me, or when we did that podcast, what was that, last summer, you and your wife and
Last summer, yeah.
myself. And you did sell me because I'm sending you money. I'm sending you money on Monday. So EM Housing Solutions. Very confident.
Yeah, you got to look back at episode whatever that was of how many are you in now? It's amazing that time went by so fast. How many episodes have you done?
I think they were like in the 40s somewhere. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
We took 2 weeks off at the end of the year. And then we had our season opener. I don't know if you were there for the season opener. We kind of screwed up because we're learning as we go. And I thought you could set up Premiere on YouTube and Facebook, which I did. And I didn't know until the last minute that you need a specific set of software to broadcast to both places at the same time.
Yes, there is a place that we have used to do that. And I can advertise it now. I'm not making money from it, but I can advertise it now on your show.
Sure.
There's a website called BeLive, BeLive,
Mm-hmm.
and you can create posts to schedule, just like you guys did, schedule your future lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have people be able to subscribe to it and register for the live. That way it would send them reminders when it was happening, a day before, the day of, an hour before, stuff like that. And when it happens, all they have to do is, whether they're on their phone or the computer, is hit the button that says watch the live. And all you have to do is stream like this from Zoom, and it would bring everybody in.
On what platform?
You can use Zoom. You can connect it to your Zoom. Yeah. But
they can come into our Zoom meeting.
right. They would watch what's happening like right now, and it would happen on YouTube and Facebook. I believe those are the only two, maybe Instagram too, but I know you can stream simultaneously.
All right, I'll check it out. BeLive.com.
No.
So what did happen was the placemat, so to speak, I did have on YouTube. I had to not use that one, and at the last minute set up another live stream, cancel the Facebook, set up the live stream. And when we set up the live stream, we had like, I don't know, 7 people showing up in the new room and like 9 people waiting for us to show up in the old room. So it wouldn't be something I would do unless I made a complete total mess out of it. So
I think
it's part of
I think I was one of the ones waiting, because I remember wanting to go on the Facebook site and it kept saying waiting. I think YouTube is where you ended up being live.
Yes. Well, YouTube, but in 2 different rooms, one that was set up as the premiere, whatever the hell they call it, and the other one I had just set up that we actually broadcasted on, Sean and I.
Okay.
So so we had people in that room, and then we had people in the original room probably sitting there going, where the hell are these people? And then as the hour went by, a number of them migrated over. But You know, it was a total mess, but we had fun anyway, you know.
Well, you still learn.
Yeah, still learning. Well, you never stop learning, you know. So, but anyway, that's what part of my digression. Sorry. I was going to say when we did that podcast, you were telling me about that fella that you know that might be running for governor in your state. What was his name again?
Doug Mastriano.
Doug Mastriano. You still in touch with him?
Yeah, he finally announced his the fact that he's running. I want to say, I'm losing track of time now, but it's February, right? So he announced maybe 2 months ago that he's officially running for governor. So he's got a huge backing here in Pennsylvania, and I have no doubt that he'll win.
And the other guy, Dr. Oz, is running for the same. Is Doug Mastriano running as a Republican?
He is, yeah. Now Oz isn't running as a governor candidate. He's running for a Senate seat.
Oh, okay. And what do you think of Dr. Oz? Is he a Republican, first of all?
He's running as a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem I guess I have is from past posts or interviews or questions answered, the question's up on him because it would almost appear, if you read his history, he would come into the Republican Party as a rhino. And the fear that I have is the way that the political arena is right now. If you're running as a Democrat, you're really in trouble right now because people are kind of seeing the way those parties sway. So I feel like if you're even in the middle or would sway either way, which I guess is the definition of a rhino, that somebody runs as a Republican, is where some people will put themselves in the playing field to just get that vote. That's my fear with him.
Go there because it's there happens to be an opening.
Yeah, it's like faking the bunt and then hitting down the third base line when the third baseman's playing shortstop.
Oh, that reminds me. We'll get back to Doug Mastriano in a second. Another thing that came up in a previous podcast, as Sean and I were talking, I forget what we were talking. I think I was talking about Hank Aaron, how he had his hands backwards for most of his early childhood when he batted, and I think that's what made his wrist so strong. Sean had pointed out that you were you're a right-handed fella, but you batted left-handed.
Yes.
Now you can take me to task. Is it because I taught you how to hit, and you're mirroring me because I was left-handed?
Yes, 100%.
Oh my God, I feel so bad. But you probably had an advantage batting lefty.
Absolutely. I bat, and now I golf too. I golf left-handed, and I felt like in baseball.
When you write those $1 million checks, you write with your right hand?
With my right hand, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Everything else I throw right-handed, right-handed. Swing is left-handed.
So if I had to do it all over again, I guess I should have showed you how to hit with me doing it from the right-hand side. But you probably fake because you were a pretty good hitter when I remember in Little League and didn't you play in high school too?
High school, yeah, all the way through.
So you always had a good bat. So
I still have, which is funny because we had this, like, you go through these moments in life, and I'm in my 40s now. You have this moment every now and then where you're talking about your past, and it seems like if we go down a rabbit hole for a second, we had a conversation with a couple of our friends where it doesn't matter how far away from high school you're removed. It seems to be that's like the best time of your life. Everybody goes back to that high school. Like those 4 years really define your memories for like the rest of your life, right? Mm-hmm. So we go back to that and tell stories, and this is what I used to do in high school, and you know, these are the people I dated, and this is what I played in high school, and all that stuff. So that conversation came up when we were out with some friends one night, and I was talking about playing baseball down in Florida at the time because I had moved down to Florida for a couple of years.
You were in Sebastian. Was it Sebastian?
In Sebastian, yeah. And there was a few high school state records that there's two of them. There's four of them that I hit, and there's two of them that stand to this day because we
Really?
looked them up. Yeah. I had for the amount of bats you needed to qualify, I had the least amount of strikeouts in a season. I had whatever the amount of bats was, I struck out once for the entire season. And then stolen base record.
Wow. And who taught you how to hit? Let me write his name down. Well, that's good. And that's
I
for
think he,
Sebastian or,
Sebastian, yeah.
yeah, cool. Well, I guess Sebastian High School, what is that? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So still something to be proud of. I was just looking up past newspaper articles just to show people, hey, I used to play in Florida. And I saw some of the records for the state, and they still stand.
Wow. They spell your name right?
Yeah. One of the few people that do.
I'll tell two stories because we're in the rabbit hole. We're never going to get back to Doug Mastriano. Sorry, Doug. We'll have Doug on. Tell Doug he can come on the gritty hour and we'll throw his name out there.
Yeah, seriously, we should do that.
Yeah. I may have, I don't know if I mentioned this on a podcast with Shawnee Boy, but I remember because obviously baseball's in a lockout as we're doing this podcast. And I guess spring training is in jeopardy, whatever. I don't follow baseball like I used to anyway for a lot of reasons, but
I can almost say I follow it less because I had no idea any of that happened.
well, okay. So they're in a lockout, excuse me. I think the
Okay.
owners are locking out, whatever. They're trying to see who can get the most millions, But anyway, I happen to be visiting you and your father down in Florida when I think it was 1994. They had a lockout or a strike or one or the other, and spring training started late, which may end up being the scenario this year, but whatever. And all the snowbirds had gone north already. So there was one time when we went to one of the fields at Port St. Lucie. We just took a drive there because it wasn't that far from where you live. It's like maybe 45 minutes north or a half hour.
Yeah, if that, south of us.
That's what I said, south. It took longer because I went the wrong way. No, I'm only kidding. But anyway, and we had the whole field to ourselves. The Mets were there drilling. I remember Pete Harnish. On the field, they had I remember Harnish and John Franco and Bobby Bonilla and a bunch of other pitchers and first basemen or whatever. And essentially they were doing this drill where somebody, because they had one of the coaches with a fungo bunting. So it was basically the pick up the bunt cover first thing.
Yeah.
That play. And they must have spent 4 hours just doing that. And in the field to the left of where we were sitting, Mookie Wilson was hitting fungos to the outfielders. So, but it was like you and I were the only non-baseball players in this whole place.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was pretty impressive because, like I say, all the winter people had already gone back north.
Right.
Well, we had the run of the place except for the players, But I have this memory of how old were you in '94?
14, 15, something like that.
I have this memory of you in the parking lot. We were going back to the car, and in the parking lot was hundreds of baseballs just laying around for like stray balls, right? They don't go after the balls when you're in the majors. Just get it. And I have this memory. You were walking in front of me by about 15 feet, and your pockets were bulging with baseballs. It's like I wasn't even you must have had 30 baseballs in your pocket, which was that always I'm always reminded of that. But that was
coach is going to be so proud.
That was a cool memory. It was just you, me sitting in the stands. And I remember like Harnish and Franco and Bonilla kept looking over at us because we were the only two people. And the stands were like 10 feet away from the field, right? So, but that was a good memory, man. Yeah.
So the couple of years I spent down there, to piggyback on that, one of the cool things was like when we had baseball practice in high school, like you can't do it around here. We don't have spring training and things like that. And if you're a big baseball fan, it was such a great place to be because even though it took 45 minutes to get to Port St. Lucie, Sebastian was only 10 minutes away from Vero Beach, which was where the Dodgers used to have spring training before they moved to Arizona.
Right.
So after baseball practice in my junior and senior year, when the kids started driving, we would get done with baseball practice and go down to Dodger Town and see the end of the spring training games. And we met plenty of players, but it was just like they were playing in your backyard. There was no, that's the cool part about versus going to a stadium. It's nice to watch your team in regular season, but if you go to spring training, it's just like you're playing in somebody's barbecue. Then you get to go and meet these guys and shake hands with them in between innings, and it's such a cool experience.
It is. It's a much more laid back than, when you come north. And but that's always been a good memory of mine. Do you remember that?
I do vividly.
Do you remember how many baseballs you squandered?
Well, you're probably about right. As many as I could get.
I should say. It was about 20 of them, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to fill the pockets up, but you can't stop at the pockets. You got to lift the t-shirt up and get them in the t-shirt too.
You did. It was good. But yeah, that was a good memory. But I was going to say something else. Now I can't think about it. But maybe we will get back to Doug Mastriano.
Yeah.
So he's a Republican as well.
He is. Yeah. I had met him really early on when the pandemic hit. And they were really cracking down on some of the locals here as far as like shutting down businesses and things like that. When we felt it was time to open the businesses back up, he kind of led the charge in Pennsylvania to help make that happen. And we had a rally in Harrisburg to protest, which you're not allowed to do anymore, but I digress. Protest in Harrisburg against what the governor was doing to the state. And I met him face to face. The mandates, yeah.
Mandates, okay.
I had a chance to meet him face to face, and we talked a little bit about the group that I was creating locally, which was to fight for our area. And I had teamed up with another person who, ironically, is in real estate. Created a group to, I don't want to say fight the mandates, but if you go too far, you went too far, and it's the public's responsibility to fight against that, because you're fighting against your freedom at that point. So he started a group that was called Reopen PA, and almost overnight had 500,000 people join this Facebook page. He ended up getting shut down, but I invited him onto my page, and long story short, the three of us were in contact on a regular basis. It was him and a couple of senators and congressmen from our immediate areas that we wanted to start this charge to. It didn't even matter to us because we own our own business, and we don't, we never shut down. But the kids were taking a hit, and me having 3 kids, I took it personally. So that's why I got involved in the fight.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. That's as an American citizen, that's what you should be doing. It's to do for every citizen. Stand up for what you believe in. But it's funny you talking about that now, because I was thinking this morning about when we were shut down, because my business was shut down for 88 days. We had ice cold Cuomo here, and as a governor at the time, and what's his name, Anthony Fauci, 4'8", played on Regis. That doesn't wash with me, but anyway. We played basketball style out of here. But anyway, he kept score is what he did. But anyway, 15 days to stop the spread, 30 days to stop the spread. Maybe we can have a barbecue if one stands on one end of the backyard, and and then the reopening thing, phase 1, phase 2, we're in phase 3. Woohoo,
Yeah,
really and all the while it was follow the science, and they didn't know the science, and I give Fauci and all of them people, I give them a little bit of leeway because they were learning as they go too. So you have to give them some space, so to speak.
I think as a society, publicly speaking, the biggest lesson to take away from this is not to blindly follow in the future. I think that's a good lesson to take away, because even though you're figuring something out from the dark, I mean, this came out of left field one day in March of 2020. The fact that the rules were never the same across the country. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it was never the same across the country. It was never umbrellaed. In some cases it was, in some cases it wasn't. But there was no like rhyme or reason to the changes that they made. And let's decide to do this week, this week, this week. As a public, I think our responsibility is to question something when it's not definitive. And if it's not 100% definitive and you have a question about it, ask the questions like, I should do this. Why should I do this? Is it going to benefit me? Is it going to harm me? It doesn't matter what they're telling you to do. There should be that question in the back of your mind that says, and I've had that since the beginning. I've always been like that. You're telling me to go out in public and wear a mask 100% of the time. Well, why? Well, who's that benefiting? And show me the proof behind that, because my argument from the beginning with the case count, which always irritated me and still to this day, and I don't see the ticker on the news anymore like they used to have. But you've built websites in the past. I can put a website up, and to show that there's people actually going to my website, I can put a digital counter on there that goes up 10 people every day. Say, look how popular I am. My counter's going up. And that's basically what was happening on the news. When you asked locally, I can speak for locally because we asked for, right to know paperwork and stuff like that. If the case count is going up in our area so much that you want to shut our kids down again, just show me the proof that that's a fact. Don't put a digital counter on our website that says we had 100 more cases today. Where'd they come from?
Mhm.
And if our remediation efforts are working or not working, where's the peer-reviewed reports that say, yes, we have peer-reviewed reports that say this, we back this, we don't back this for whatever reason. And you can never provide that. This is why our school district locally, and I started a parents group that was 600 strong. They went to the school board meeting and said, you need to provide us this proof that this works for our children, or you're going to drop all mandates and let our kids go back to school normal, no mask, no nothing, no vaccine mandates and stuff like that. And because they couldn't provide that, our kids have been back normal for the past year and a half.
Mm.
And I feel like that's a responsibility of the public to question. You make a decision based on how you feel. I don't care if you want to wear a helmet everywhere you go. That's up to you. But if you're going to make me do it, at least provide some backing as to why I should. That's it.
It's a good look though, helmet. No one would screw around with you.
I like some people should wear helmets.
Hey, get a nice Vietnam era combat helmet. I don't think it'll be messed with. I think you need it in some places nowadays, especially if you take a subway ride in the city. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. Well, you mentioned the term rabbit hole before, and this is a rabbit hole. When you start critically thinking things, and I've been saying this throughout the whole thing, that what's lacking in this country is people aren't critically thinking things through.
Yes.
I always use the analogy of electric cars, they're sticking this thing into their car and charging the car up, but they're not asking themselves, where's the electricity coming from?
Right.
You're burning coal to get I'm just saying.
No, I completely get it. And this is a rabbit hole. How many hours do we have? Because eventually when your battery goes bad, and it does go bad, what happens to the battery? Everything is recycled at some point. But it's hard to be green without fossil fuels at some point in the line.
Yes. So there's parts of the Green New Deal that require, an amplification of that. But anyway, whatever. The critical thinking part is now, if they're telling you numbers are going up as you just described, and you demanded they prove to you that it's going up, because everyone's heard the cases of the hospitals are overcrowded, and somebody on TikTok walks around an empty hospital, or you get these nurses doing dance routines on TikTok.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself why they're saying that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the rabbit hole,
100%.
and we would need a couple of few hours. I'm not a conspiracy theorist person, but there's a lot of the arrows point to something underpinning all of this crapola.
Money.
And
But you don't have to be.
I'm almost afraid to explore it.
Well, you don't have to be. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist, although you'd be labeled one to ask questions. But you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to realize that there's money involved somewhere.
Mhm.
It's not. Like you said with the TikTok dances, that makes me laugh because like if you're truly in a. My joke last year was this is an insult to the word pandemic, because you didn't see pictures in your history books of 1918 Spanish flu, people choreographing the Thriller video. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But, again, it is what it is, and we certainly don't have the power to delve into it. In that sense, we're both pedestrians, but your gut knows what's right and your gut knows what's wrong, and that's what you got to do, what's right for yourself. And in all sincerity, I do wear this mask to make the customer feel comfortable, because I don't. This was given to me by my insurance company, and now they're saying it's not effective. You need a football helmet or something, N95 mask or whatever the hell it is. But
that's the point that's lost here, because like we said in the beginning, there's such a division that's created by the narrative, whether you watch the news or whatever they tell you, is the narrative. It's not the fact that you wear one and I don't. It's the fact that you can if you want to, and I can if I don't want to, or I can't if I don't want to.
yeah,
Because you're doing it for your reasons and I'm doing it for my reasons. If somebody came in and said you need to wear that and you didn't feel like wearing it, you should be able to say no, I'm not comfortable with that for this reason.
Mhm.
That's the point that's lost in all this. It's not they want me to demean somebody that's wearing a mask, or they want somebody that's wearing a mask to demean me that's not.
Mhm.
That's clouding the actual point that's being missed. And it's to parallel the rabbit hole. That's the dangerous part, is if you see what's happening up in Canada when these people are shut down. Like, I had such a light experience with that. Like, I've been suspended 3 times now on Facebook, and I had an account deleted for stuff that was just, you would expect to be free speech. Now you take that, multiply that by 1,000 with the people that are being ridiculed in Canada with the truckers and getting their bank accounts suspended, and the martial law being declared. Like, who would expect something like that to happen? But it's really weird.
Yeah, you peek over the edge of that agenda when you find out how much coverage that got in this country. I don't know how much time CBS News devoted to the truckers in Canada, but you take that extra step and you find out what's going on. They froze your ass. What, you got a fire drill going?
You heard that?
Yeah,
That was a text message that came through the computer.
Fire drill. Last one out. Close the door. But thanks for putting a picture of me in your window. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
They got to cut the nose out still.
You're gonna have that ready by next October. But anyway, yeah, you do. You peek over the precipice of these things, and you know that there's something very dark underneath it, but you just don't want to look. That's how I feel. Because if you start uncovering these things, the media and the governments in the cahoots that might be going on. I like to live my life just in terms of this COVID thing, is saying, and I like to believe that Joe Biden had nothing to do with it. Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. Anthony Fauci had nothing to do with it coming here. Your next door neighbor who's wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, definitely didn't have anything to do with it coming here. So give them a break. The guy in Walmart that's yelling at the other guy in Walmart, it's neither one of their fault that the virus got to this country.
Right.
So I try to live my life with that in mind. It's not your next door neighbor's fault that you're dealing with this situation.
But again, that's the takeaway from all of this. And I, fully transparent. I wore a mask for a living, whether it be in the firehouse or hazmat team, and I wore N95s for
You
different
were,
reasons.
you were a fire chief, right?
Captain.
Fire captain, chief captain.
And wearing those, I know why I was wearing those. So it honestly never made sense to me from the get-go as to why we were wearing these masks in public. It didn't make any sense. So
well, that's what Fauci said in the beginning of this pandemic. A mask doesn't do a damn bit of good.
yeah, even on a hazmat scene, like when you're wearing a mask for a good reason because you don't want whatever liquid or something that you're walking around, the efficiency of the masks are diluted within the first half hour, and we would cycle people out. So the fact that people are wearing them for 8 or 10 hours a day means nothing to me. So I thought it was a joke in the beginning when the news started talking about it, and I just never bought into it because I had experience with these things, and it never made any sense. So full transparency, I never wore one, and my family never wore one because I didn't see the need for it. If anything else, you're filtering out your own dirt and keeping it with you for the day. And so my kids with plenty of fights, myself in the grocery stores with plenty of fights, never wore one. It was never a law, even though it was pushed on the news day in and day out. And we took some mental beatings, but I was okay with that because I felt like you said, in my gut, I knew what I was doing was right. And because of it, I feel like that's part of the reason why this community that we live in went back to normal so fast, because it's that frog experiment, you know about that?
The frog in the water.
Yeah. And people just started catching on.
The slow boil theory. But how did your wife feel about all of that? Was she in agreement with you?
She was. I mean, coming from her background too, she was a nurse. And it didn't make any sense to her either. I mean, the stuff that we were being told on the news, I don't want to go down the conspiracy theory. Yes, I do. But the things that we were being told on the news just didn't make any sense for reality. The fact that you're keeping a virus from somebody. If you want to get technical for a second, the mask that you're wearing right now is probably 80 microns of space for something to get through. The typical virus is 1 to 3 microns. So the jokes that people were putting up on the internet of throwing a mosquito through a fence is true in effect, because you're not going to stop a virus. You're really, and they say, well, doctors wear this when they do surgery, and that's great. Yes, they're supposed to, because it's keeping their sweat and their saliva out of their patient. It's not keeping a virus from anybody. Well, I'll stop there. But that's
I definitely agree. But again, I just like to go forward in life with the thought that it was nobody's fault in America that it got to America, as far as we know. Okay.
It's not. And there's some weird thing in the pit of my stomach that I know I've never yelled back at somebody that was yelling at me at the store, because I know that I'm right there with you. I felt my responsibility locally was to break people from this blind following. Like, if somebody tells you something on TV, don't blindly follow it. You gotta stop and ask yourself, why am I doing this?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, they panicked you into it,
Yeah.
And that part of it was, to me, understandable, But the other thing is, you mentioned your wife was a nurse, and that would be the second nurse. One is actually a doctor that refused to get vaccinated. And look at all those nurses and people in the medical industry that refuse to get the vaccination. That worries me. Number one, it worries me that they refuse to get it. Number two, it worries me that they all got fired.
Yeah.
For not getting it. But again, that's peeking over the precipice, and I don't want to go there. But we did burn up a lot of time already. But I do want to touch on Doug Mastriano. So how did you meet him? First of all, at the rally in Harrisburg?
The rally in Harrisburg was the first time I met him in person. It was actually, Brittany came with me, which I thought was a great educational experience. At the time, they were still doing the online schooling.
Brittany's your oldest daughter.
My oldest daughter, yeah. And
sorry, Brittany, I know that, but we have a public. You how old is she now?
50, well, I say 15, she'll be 16 in 2 months.
You're too young to listen to this podcast anyway.
I'll tell you what, she's very in tune with everything that's going on, and she was more than happy to come to Harrisburg with me. And in her own right, she was the only unmasked kid in her high school as a freshman for a while, and proudly took being yelled at. And I gave her the choice, and she chose what she felt like we all felt like was the right thing. So I'm proud of her for that. So she can watch this so she can hear that.
And she voluntarily didn't wear the mask.
Yeah.
Okay. So she kept informed, even at that tender age, she was well informed about the.
She was, yeah, and she made that choice and knew by making that choice it was going to be rough, but she had myself and Mel's full backing. If she got in any trouble, then we were there for her. And the fact that she had that, she's a very, she's older than she is. She's a very independent person.
I'm curious, did she get in any trouble, or they give her any grief in the school?
Nothing. Nope, she was fine.
If you did watch the news, and I try and avoid the news too, it's even the weather is sensationalized. You got to write your will out because we're getting a snowstorm tomorrow night or tonight. But speaking of that, well, I only connected it to that. But anyway, yeah, I'm proud of Brittany. She's always been a sensible girl, even when she was a young kid.
Yeah,
she always had a good head on her. All three of your daughters do. They all have good head on their shoulders.
Well, to get back on track with that, she was with me at that rally, and we met Doug the first time.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
With the other fella that had started the Reopen PA page, and there were so many people there. And one of the things that struck me as odd, as far as like this gaslighting that the news likes to do at times, there had to be 2,000 people in the immediate square in front of the Capitol building, and they had a podium set up, and people were speaking. Russ Diamond was there. He's one of the congressmen here from Lebanon County, and there was a bus that showed up. Not a bus, like a mini van showed up, and there were probably maybe about 8 women got off of this bus dressed in scrubs like they were nurses. Didn't have masks on or anything like that, but the 9th person that got off of this bus was the cameraman, and they got all set up and they were standing in front of our group. And as soon as the cameraman got set up, they grabbed these masks out of their pocket, they threw it on their face, and this guy did a report about how irresponsible we're all being out here and walking around without masks in the middle of a pandemic. And they shot them for a couple of minutes, and they all got back in the bus, took the masks off, and drove away.
Wow.
I said, something's wrong here.
Well, something stinks. Something stinks in the whole thing. But Doug Mastriano, again, is he a state assemblyman?
He's a senator currently.
Senator? So for the state senator for the state of Pennsylvania.
State senator out of Adams County. So he lives in Gettysburg, or right outside of Gettysburg.
Oh, I like him already.
And he is Constitution 101. Like, he loves preaching the Constitution, abiding by the Constitution, wants to govern that way. And in his free time, if he has any, still gives tours of the Gettysburg battlefield.
Yeah, you had mentioned that. I had forgotten that, but you had mentioned that to me. I'll definitely have to have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
I know he's running for governor, but we might talk more about Gettysburg than his campaign. But
he'd be happy to. He's done some of his tours on his Facebook page. Like Saturday or Sunday, he'll take a group out to the battlefield and do something.
Well, what other broad strokes can you give me now about his platform? Obviously, he's anti-mandates and all, but that's gonna, with the help of God, go away soon. What else constitutes his platform?
As far as what he's running on?
Yeah,
his whole platform is built upon bringing the constitutional law back to Pennsylvania. as I believe a lot of people running across the country are trying to do in their states, because it's the whole idea of, the Constitution is there for a purpose. And when you, I don't want to say preach, when you bring up the Constitution in any subject, you're ridiculed nowadays. And why that is, it boggles my mind. But if you want, the Constitution is there for us to follow. So if we want to follow it, understand it, it's already set. It's worked for all these years. If it's not broken, you don't fix it, right? The old analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we not following the Constitution? And this will go through all of the different avenues of finances, legal, social. I mean, when you follow a process or a system that's in place, it takes all the questions out of it. That way you can't gaslight something. You can't put something in the media like a false narrative, because we're following something that's written, a process that's there in black and white. And that's really the important thing for anybody that's governing in their local or their state or federal. If you follow that process, it takes a lot of the unneeded questions out of it.
I'll ask you a question that I asked your cousin and my co-host, Shawnee Boy. Do you feel like during this entire pandemic, your First Amendment rights were infringed upon, excepting, because I know places like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook hide behind their terms of, terms and conditions that you supposedly read and sign up for when you start an account on any of these platforms. They do hide behind that when they squelch your voice.
Sure.
If you don't agree with their narrative, which is fine. But the question I'll ask you is what I asked Sean. Do you feel like your freedom of speech, or your right to speech, has been infringed upon in the last going on? This will be the beginning of the third year of this thing.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason being is a combination of that. To get your word out nowadays is those platforms. People spend days on Facebook and they live their life on these Facebook and Twitters and Instagrams and stuff like that. So when there's a message to go out to the masses or your friend group, it's usually via video or podcast. Look what we're doing. Like that. How many podcasts were shut down because they had a view that was against what was happening in current times that the news didn't like? Like it's look at Joe Rogan. That's perfect to give people the free speech.
Yeah, that's another conspiracy thing, but we're not going to get into that either. But you personally, can you give me for instance, accepting, Facebook shut you down a couple of times, or Twitter or whatever? I don't know if you ever on all the rest of them, but can you give me a for instance where your First Amendment rights were infringed upon?
As far as specifically free speech?
Yeah.
In the beginning, when we started approaching the school boards with dropping the mandates, we were, I guess, behind the scenes. It doesn't matter where it happens. Behind the scenes, we were threatened. I've been threatened because of my views, and they knew that I was going to speak in front of the school board, and I was organizing this group that didn't agree with everything that was going on. So the fact that we were threatened by people that I shouldn't have been threatened by, officials, people with badges. I won't say names because it's done now. But that's, in an American society, that doesn't seem right to me. Can I use an example that's happening currently?
Yeah, whatever you feel like, expounding on. Yeah.
To argue that the other side of that, like, it's something that I don't agree with. They're trying to, which is like this happening, it started with the monuments and all that stuff. And, if you don't agree with everything that's going on, you're obviously a white supremacist or a domestic terrorist. And I've been called all those things. But the new thing is you're a racist, and it doesn't even have to do with race. Our high school is the Twin Valley Raiders. It's an Indian. So that's now racist. There's a group that came out and is coming to the school board meetings now for 10 or 11 months straight and arguing that this should be taken down and we should rename the school after all this time because it's a bad connotation of the Native American, even though the Native Americans come out and say that we're fine with this, we realize that this is actually a positive thing and you're representing our people.
The Raiders is an Indian thing?
The Raiders, yeah. Well, in this case, it is. It's the Twin Valley Raiders I guess was a group around here. It was the Raiders.
Like a tribe?
But
I don't understand how Raiders, I mean, there's a Raiders in Las Vegas, a football team, and
yeah, I don't get it.
Hmm.
But anyway, they come out month after month to the school board meetings and argue that this needs to be 99% of the population and the locals and the alumni like the Raider. They're against all of this, but we let them speak because it's a public forum. They have that time in the public comments. They can come for the next 5 years straight if they want to, but you let them speak. If the majority doesn't agree with it, it doesn't happen, which was my argument back then, is going back to getting deleted off of Facebook. My Facebook post was deemed domestic terrorism, which had nothing to do with the subject that I put up.
Hmm.
In fact, it was an approved college study. It was an Excel spreadsheet, and that got deleted. I got deleted. And it had nothing to do with the pandemic.
Interesting. Yeah, they're hiding behind that. I forget. I keep forgetting the code. I think it's 270.
Yeah, something like that.
Internet law, 230, 270, something like that.
Yeah,
We're
coming on.
I've always been it's always been my contention that if you're deleting something of somebody and not deleting something of another, if you're deleting one ideology and not deleting another ideology, then you're a publisher.
Yeah.
Unless something's blatantly, you're saying something violent against another person or whatever, yelling fire in a theater, I can see them shutting you down. But if you're making editorial decisions about who to shut down and who not, who to fact check and who not to fact check, then you're a publisher and you don't qualify for that waiver. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I know if they did away with that waiver, places like Facebook and Twitter would close tomorrow because that's the only thing they're protected with, that internet law, which I think was signed during the Clinton administration, which is a hell of a long time ago. So, yeah, but that boggles my mind. Raider is an Indian term, first of all.
Well, the mascot symbol is the Indian with the headdress.
Oh, I see. Okay, I understand. So it's the mascot there. Yeah. But none of the local Indians in your area are against it.
None. It's for all intents and purposes, it's the group that is specifically arguing against this are freshly out of high school, so they're freshmen in college. So what is that, 18, 19-year-old white girls screaming racism.
I remember, well, yeah, they're, look how great I am because I'm against this. I've chastised that group too. I'm like Neil Young, look how great I am because, whatever. Like he knows what he's talking about. He probably never even watched Joe Rogan show or listened to Joe Rogan podcast. And like I said to Shawnee Boy, I wouldn't go to Neil Young if I had a bronchial problem. So, whatever. But anyway, this goes back to when I was like in my 20s. I remember when St. John's, what the hell are they called now? St. John's University. What's the basketball team called?
Is it not that?
Well, no, it used to be. Well, their name used to be St. John's Redmond.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the hell they're called now. Red Storm or some bullshit name they came up with. But that was the first time I remember somebody having to change their name because apparently it was, whatever. But I can understand that because I think there were Indians that were against it. So if they're against it, then you got to kind of like back them up,
Yeah.
If they think Redmond is an offensive term, then maybe they should change the name. Like the Washington Redskins. If the Indians think Redskins is an insulting, derogatory term, that change the name. But I'm just saying, if no Indians involved, then I don't know. And you're just doing this to make yourself look better because look how great I am because I'm, whatever. I don't know what their motivation is. I don't want to speak in. I don't even know what else to do. But
when in some of these cases, if you win, you get like, what's the next thing? Because they're gonna go after the next thing. It'd be the Giants next because it's offensive to small people.
Yeah. The New York Giants, yeah. Yeah, if you're over 7 feet, this world is rough.
It's gonna be the New York average size people.
Well, they don't even play in New York. They play in Jersey. So hell with them too. All right, sure. I almost called you Shawnee boy, but
Heard it.
we're all related. I heard it. Couldn't get it. But I appreciate your time. I know you have to give a lecture on real estate within the next half hour or so. So I'll let you go. But I do appreciate you squeezing us in and giving us the gritty politic, which is what I think I'll call this episode, gritty politic.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, we'll have you back again. Maybe you, me, and Shawnee boy. I can't wait to tell Shawnee boy it was my fault that you batted left-handed.
I think I may have heard that episode where you guys were having that conversation, and I find myself, and maybe it's because I know who you guys are, but if I'm driving in the car and listen to the podcast and you have a question that is unanswered because I'm not too sure, I answer my radio out loud in the car, just so you know.
All right, the guy parked next to you is like, who the hell's he talking to? All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much again for your time. Say hello to Mel and give my love to your wife and daughters. And hopefully we'll see you in person soon, but maybe we'll see you on the Gritty Hour soon too.
Absolutely.
Reach out to Doug Mastriano and, tell him your godfather wants to do a podcast with him.
I'll see what I can work out.
All right. Sounds good. All right. And have a good lecture tonight.
All right. Thank you.
All right.